Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day to everyone. I am Muhammad Hafiz bin Sulaiman from Universiti Malaysia Terengganu. So today I will talk about a part of my study, the effects of the economic development programs towards the orang asli and the Malayan pangolin conservation in Malaysia. So around the world, we actually have 8 species of the pangolin, and 4 of the species can be found in Africa continents, and the other 4 can be found in Asian continent. In Peninsular Malaysia or in Malaysia, we only have 1 species of the pangolin, namely the Malayan, or also known as the Sunda pangolin, Manis javanica. So, for the pangolin conservation status in Malaysia, in 1995 and below, this species is not threatened. However, in 1996, the conservation status became near threatened because of the starting of the demand of the international market of this species. This makes in 2008 the conservation status of the pangolin become endangered because this time the demand for international market for pangolins scales and meats skyrocketing. By 2014, the IUCN had classified this species into critically endangered species. So how about the future? Actually, we have no idea about what will happen into the future. However, based on the diminishing or the declining population number of the pangolin around the world, including in Malaysia, uh, there is a high possibility of this species to become extinct, not only in Malaysia but around the world. So actually, the pangolin species is poached for traditional Chinese medicine and exotic food, and the largest market of this species is at China. Okay, there are three main actors. Okay, three main actors that play a major role in pangolin poaching, not only in Malaysia but around the world. There are the poachers, either from foreigners or locals. Okay, for Malaysia, we have orang asli and other ethnicities, but the orang asli is the main poachers here. Next, the middleman, and the last one is wildlife syndicate. And the driving force for orang asli or other poachers to poach the pangolin is because of the poverty and to generate income. And as we know that majority of the orang asli population or community in Malaysia still living in poverty. So to generate income or side income, they poaching the pangolin and sell them. So to overcome the poverty problems among orang asli communities, the government actually have introduced several programs to uplift or empower orang asli life being. So, for example, the Economic Development Program or EDP that focus on sources of income, Social Development Program or SDP that focus on improving quality of life, and Structured Placement Program or SPP that focus on relocation or combining scattered small villages into big village. However, in this study, we only focus on the EDP. The objective of these studies are to determine the type and the effectiveness of the EDP that have been implemented by the government. Second, to investigate the participation of the Orang Asli community in the EDP and its effect on conservation of the pangolin. And the last one, to examine the factors that influence the Orang Asli to either continue or stop poaching the pangolins in Peninsular Malaysia. For materials and methods, actually this study used mixed mode research design. However, for this presentation, we only present our quantitative data. So for the primary data, it was collected through survey, and all our respondents met these criteria, inclusion and exclusion criteria. Okay, the survey was conducted at Kampung Sungai Perkam and Kampung Sungai Bawah, which is located at Terengganu, Kampung Bukit Cermin, located at Perak, Kampung Tohor, located at Negeri Sembilan, Kampung Gumam, and Kampung Sungai Enggang, located at Pahang. For the results, our first result is about the demography. So, majority of our respondents were from 21 to 40 years old, and they were women. Majority of them were Smart-Buri tribes, and they were married. For education, some of them attending secondary schools and most of them not attending schools, around 32.6% respectively, and majority of them were self-employed. Uh, they also were Islam. And for income per day, usually orang asli generate Malaysia ringgit 1 to Malaysia ringgit 20, and all of them were Malaysian citizen, and they were from Perak and Pahang respectively. Okay, this is the participation of the orang asli in the EDP. So majority of the orang asli, or our respondents, around 75%, they knew about the EDP existence in their village. Okay, however, not many of them, okay, around 70% of them have not participated in the EDP. So for those who involved or participated in the EDP, most of them chose rubber plantation course, okay, around 14.6%. However, 58%, more than half of our respondents, not sure about the repetition of the EDP in their village. So this is our respondents' perception of the EDP. So around 50% of our respondents strongly agree that they will attend the EDP by their own will. Around 36% strongly agree that they will attend the program again. Around 45% strongly agree that the EDP is beneficial for them. Okay, around 45% of them strongly agree that they will encourage their families and friends to attend the EDP program. Around 42% somewhat agree that the EDP increase their income. Around 35% strongly agree that the EDP meets participant interest, and only 21.3% of them strongly agree and strongly disagree about the facility provided in their village. So this is our respondents' opinion on the EDP. So almost 30% of them strongly disagree that the EDP have no benefit for them. Around 28% somewhat agree that the EDP will not increase the income. 38% of them strongly disagree that the EDP cannot guarantee their children's future. Around 48% strongly disagree that poaching will provide higher income than the EDP. Around 29% strongly agree that the equipment and budget for the EDP is not enough in the long run, and around 30% of our respondents somewhat agree that not many villagers have an interest to attend the programs. About the option of the EDP, majority of our respondents, around 60%, were satisfied with the choice of the EDP that had been chosen and implemented by the government in their village. However, 57% of them stated that they were too busy to join the EDP. So this is the effects of the EDP. So around 54% of our respondents said that the EDP is not the only source of income for them, and most of them, around 55%, has stopped running the EDP. So around 43% of our respondents stopped poaching due to the EDP implementation in their village, and around 53% of them said that the EDP implementation could curb wildlife poaching in the future. This is the factors for orang asli to stop poaching. Okay. Most of them stated that they strongly agree they will stop poaching if the price of the pangolin becomes cheaper in the market, and they will also agree that they will stop poaching if there is no buyer. Around 45% of our respondents strongly agree that they will stop poaching if they had fixed income and job, and around 64% of our respondents strongly agree to stop poaching if their children had fixed income and job. Around 62% of our respondents strongly agree that they stop poaching because they're afraid of authorities, and around 60% of our respondents strongly agree that they stop poaching because they're afraid of severe penalties. This is the factors of orang asli to continue poaching. So around 54% of them strongly agree they continue poaching because of the monetary value. Around 32% of our respondents strongly agree that they continue poaching to generate side income. Around 47% of our orang asli strongly agree that they will continue poaching other wildlife even the pangolin become extinct in Malaysia. Around 37% of our respondents strongly agree that poaching is a tradition that must be preserved, and only 12.4% of our respondents strongly agree to encourage young generation who already have a job to continue poaching tradition. Around 32% of our respondents strongly agree that they continue poaching because of the high price of the pangolin in the market. Around 21% of our respondents strongly agree that they continue poaching because there is no legal action can prevent orang asli from poaching the penguins. And around 18% of them strongly agree that they continue poaching because they are not afraid of being caught. And only 12.4% of them strongly disagree that penguins are nearly extinct due to poaching and not because of deforestation. For discussion, Objective 1. So there were 11 types of the EDP that had been implemented and identified, okay, in the village. So all of these types of EDP was in line with government programs except for livestock. However, during my survey, I found that there is a new EDP project that will be implemented at the Kampung Sungai program, which is fish farming, that fallen under livestock programs. Okay, for the effectiveness, based on answer given on the following questions: perception, opinion, and optional. So, majority of the orang asli give positive feedback, and the EDP they said effectively being implemented in their village. This is in line with self findings that show the government is very committed to uplift the orang asli well-being. However, the orang asli still believe that present programs still had minimal impacts on their socio-economic that leads to hesitancy of the villagers to attend the programs. For objective to discussion, so the knowledge about the existence of EDP among orang asli is well known, but it is not well accepted by them. This is proven by the higher number of orang asli. Okay, around 70% of them not participated in the EDP, and the main reason was time restriction. So many orang asli, like I said before in the result, join rubber plantation boss. This situation is influenced by first the historical aspect. This is because rubber was firstly introduced to orang asli and the work is not as difficult as oil palm and other EDP. Next, the cyclonic aspect. This is because orang asli actually is comfortable with their similar daily routine. Okay, they can get money every day by selling their forest products or their wildlife poaching. Okay, poached wildlife. Okay, as compared to other EDPs, for example, the oil palm, where they need to wait for a month to get the money. So for the effect, although the EDP had opened up the job and income opportunities to orang asli, less than half participants still running the EDP, and majority of them return back to poach wildlife to generate income. However, orang asli still have a positive opinion that the EDP could help in wildlife conservation, including the pangolin in the future. For objective 3 discussion, honestly, we'll continue poaching because of income, tradition, rights, and accountability. And you will stop poaching if the pangolins value in the market is dropped. There is no buyer in the market. Uh, they, they and the children have a stable income, and the regulations are very strict. So we can say that the chances for our Asli community to stop poaching in the near future in Malaysia is very slim. Yet it is not impossible. So why this happened? First, orang asli actually still largely depend on forest products to sustain their daily life, and the tradition that have been practiced for generations is impossible to be stopped immediately. Second, orang asli still believe that they have the rights to hunt the wildlife. That some orang asli believe that the plummeting or the declining of the pangolin populations in Peninsular Malaysia is caused by deforestation, not because of poaching. And last one, even though the pangolin have no value in the market or no one will buy the pangolin, orang asli still will continue their hunting activities as a tradition and hobby. As a conclusion, there are 11 types of EDP that have been implemented and the programs were conducted effectively. The knowledge of orang asli on EDP was very high, but the participation was very low. Thus, the effect of the EDP to empower orang asli socio-economic and for the Malay pangolin conservation in Peninsular Malaysia was somewhat minimal. However, orang asli still have positive attitude and believe that the EDP could help towards pangolin conservation. Next, orang asli will continue poaching for the time being, but if certain conditions are fulfilled, poaching activities can be controlled and reduced. So, although the findings showed there is a limited impact of implementation of the EDP on orang asli poaching activities, yet we can stop to pursue the main goal to save the pangolin from extinction. So, serious efforts from the government, NGOs, industry players, academicians, and other stakeholders must be well constructed to ensure each responsibilities are effectively carried on to empower orang asli community well-being for a better future for Malaysian wildlife. So we would like to thank the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia for the grant, the Department of Orang Asli Development for the permit, Universiti Malaysia Terengganu for the research ethics approval letter and also logistics provided, and to all those directly or indirectly involved in this study. This is our references. That's all from us. Thank you very much.